Hello, everyone. How are you all doing this evening? Oh, look at me. Look at that crap. All right. We have all new computer problems, so let me know if I can actually, or if you all can hear me. I can't test it the way I normally do. All right, let's see who we got in here. Peachy, hello. Doc Loving, Rose, good to see you. Decoy, welcome. Ms. Wheats, Tara, welcome. Good to see you again, too. Well, good to see that you popped in at the very least to see us, Halloween. We appreciate it. All right. I hope everyone has had a good week. Sorry I look a little rougher than usual. It is flipping hot up here in the office, and I'm just dying. I don't know if you can hear it. There's actually a fan I'm using to help circulate some air, but hopefully you can't hear it. But if you all can hear it and it's annoying, let me know. I'll turn it off and just try to suffer through. Hey, Lauren, good to see you. So is my mic actually working? Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Good to know. So this week has been interesting. My main desktop computer, the one I usually use for the sound test and everything, dead. Absolutely dead. I fried the hard drive, the motherboard, everything. And the repair guy is like, I don't even know how you would do this, which honestly, this happens to me quite often. Yay for studying magic and being able to fry electronics. Luckily, all my editing and stuff and these live streams I normally do from the laptop. So I just use the desktop for a bit of storage, music, and obviously having two screens up during the stream so I could see what you all were seeing, not just what I'm seeing through the back office. Uh, that said, however, it does run us into a problem for Sundays with Magical Coffee Hour because for some reason the streaming service we were using doesn't like my laptop. So I'm not sure how we're going to work that out just yet. That's still in the process. But as of now, we're still going to do Magical Coffee Hour or something on Sunday. So we're still trying to figure that one out. But yeah, basically the warranty's over and it'll cost more to fix the thing that would be for me to just buy a new computer at this point. So, and I got to decide if I even need it because, like I said, I was just using it for music. So, seems a little redonkulous to buy a whole computer just for that. Though I might be able to get my tablet set up for the sound test, in which case then we're good to go on everything but the Magical Coffee Hour streaming. So there's that little bit of an update that I've been fighting with all week, and computers hate me, so it's been a stressful week. And for those of you who have been willing to listen to me rant about it in Discord, thank you. I appreciate it. You're great friends. It's good to have a venting medium. I appreciate it. And for those who's offered your assistance in trying to figure it out, thank you also. Now, we got a surprise. Check out what came in just yesterday. Does that not look freaking fantastic? I think this is my favorite canvas because there's colors in here that when I saw the digital art, I just didn't see these colors. So I don't know how the canvas is bringing out colors that the digital art didn't have. Maybe I'm just colorblind and didn't see it until they put it in a different medium. But that is the Spirit Ruler Primordia, and that canvas is available with the other ones now. And well, I just had to show it off because that thing's just freaking awesome. She did a fantastic job on it. She is working on the Maelstrom ruler currently, and that one's given her the hardest time yet. But she's doing a great job. I've seen some of the updates, and for those of you who are in my Patreon, you have seen me post the updates of the line work, some of the colors that she's been playing around with, and the general concept of it. And it's coming together pretty well. Welcome, TC. Good to see you, man. Oh, Ane, good to see you. Well, I don't know. No, it's not the photo picture because she literally it's a digital art on that she did, and then she actually sent me the digital art. So I have the actual hard copy of it. That's what I'm saying, because I know like on screen when I put it on the store, it's never going to look as good. I know that. Or if I take a picture, it's not. But I would think the actual original file would still look badass, but clearly I must be mistaken because, yeah, it looks different. Could be because this is where it's not backlit by a screen, that the colors are darker and comes out more vibrant. Maybe that's it. I don't know. We all know I'm a caveman in a digital world, so I'm just spitballing theories that might make sense to my little brain. Either way, I love it. Hey, Steve. Yeah, we do have a little info on the Egyptians and the dragons working together. I don't work with the Egyptians a whole lot. So as far as Egyptian detail, I suck. I'm not your person. But they do seem to be one of the pantheons that are like real rigid with the whole worshiping concept, which I don't do well, which is why I really don't like working with them. But there are magicians who have found ways to get in with the magicians and work with them and somehow push them out of that worship zone they're in. And they love working with them. Now, the dragons, they work with the Egyptians pretty well. You will definitely find a lot of the light dragons with the Egyptians, fire dragons, and earth dragons, and even air dragons. They really seem to be the larger bulk of what you would find before you get to like the darkness dragons, because that's just the environment they lived in. Now, one thing I did find interesting is water dragons, though you wouldn't think of it, but the Egyptian culture was big, built around water because it was such a commodity and such a resource. So even though when we think Egyptian environments, we don't normally think of water, but I mean, remember the Nile? I mean, so they're there. But this is one case where the light dragons tend to outside the base four, because the base four, anytime you're working here on this plane, they're going to kind of take the dominant role. But the light dragons really do kind of lean out in the front because they were such a sun worshiping culture. But the dragons generally enjoy working with them. The only issue I've ever seen is if the Egyptians are demanding worship, the dragons tend to roll their eyes. And that can lead to some funny and awkward interactions from time to time. But other than that, they get along great. Animal Man, from what I've heard from the dragons themselves, they have at one point roamed this planet in physical. Um, Now they can easily alter their vibration to shift so that they're not physical, but they can still wander here. And due to, we'll just call it human stupidity, that's the reason they abandoned the ship to protect their own. Um, as to a time period when this happened, dragons suck with calendar dates because their viewpoint of time and ours is so different. So I couldn't tell you when that took place. I've heard a lot of theories, and some of them are like out past Pluto, but they did at least at one time wander this plane or planet in the physical by their own account. No, Bernaldus, I started at 7. It's now 7:10. I even had to do like a 2-minute sound test. Honestly, I don't know. That's actually the only pantheon I know of that demands worship. You keep hearing, because most entities, including deities, really don't care. Um, there's this theory out there that their power is dependent on the worshipers they have. And every deity I've worked with, talked to closely, that's never been the case. So I'm not sure where that came from. I know I've read it in 2 fantasy novels, and I want to say a role playing game, but I don't want to say the name of the game because I'm not sure which one it was, and I don't want to give credit or discredit to one game or another. But as far as in any tomes that I've found, any actual documentations, and working with the entities directly, I've never found one that worship mattered. Now, the Egyptian deities, they just seem to like it. It's just part of their culture. It's who they are. They like that whole, Pharaoh is God concept. It's just part of that culture. And they don't seem wanting to let that go, which I find interesting because every other pantheon I've worked with has moved past where the myths have ended and have continued on into the modern age. And to me, that's one of the most fascinating things about working with these entities is to see how they modernized past the myths, which you all know I'm planning to do a video series on that. I'm going to cover the mythological lore, and then I'm going to move into the gnosis that I have working directly with them and talking about how they operate within the modern world. But I don't know. Now, that's not to say deities don't enjoy worship, because some of them do. Some of them don't care. Some of them's indifferent. Some of them, they do get a little raw with worship because they would rather you kind of hold yourself up. And if you're worshiping, you look more for them to hold you up. But it does go from personalities there a bit. So you got to kind of dance in there and figure out the entity you're working with. Yeah, they did. They up and left. Luckily, they didn't fully abandon us. They've been keeping an eye and a claw on us, or at least I'm grateful for it, because I got way too many good friends in the dragon community to hope that they abandon us completely. Because I'd be out with a lot of friends if that was the case. Huh. Well, you might be thinking of Magical Coffee Hour, Benaldus. It starts at 8. I don't know what time zone you're in, but Fridays we start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Magical Coffee Hour starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That might be where the mix-up is. I don't know, because I don't really know your time zone. Uh, Patricia, I have worked with Tiamat, and she's a very interesting dragon. Um, Looking at her lore, it fits her very well, and she was indeed worshipped as a goddess. Um, but when you work with her as just a dragon, she she gets more complex, I guess might be the word if I'm stating that right. Um, because she is indeed what dragons would use the term true dragon for. and she would be classified as a chaos dragon, which I don't know. When I first thought of her, they keep talking about her and the creation of Earth myth. So I guess I just kind of got that Earth word stuck in my head. But when you look at the myth and you actually read it and her characteristics, chaos is the exact thing. It's really the only thing she could be. So I just felt like a stupid idiot on that one, not seeing it sooner. But she is a fascinating entity to work with. She does have a mothering nature, but does anyone know those moms who they're great parents, they're great teachers, they're going to really build you up, but when it comes to patience, they're in the negatives on patience. They got none. That would be her. She has no patience. She expects you to get up and get it done now. Procrastination is not something she got time for. So she gets a little, because she gets very cranky when you start procrastinating. But I do find her to be a fascinating dragon to work with. And I am really happy to see more literature on her coming out and more people working with her and publishing Gnosis. In fact, I'm actually planning to do a video specifically dedicated to her in the near future. Well, when I say left, I mean left physically, not in totality of essence, only physical. As in, you can't poke them with a sword. That's all I mean by left. They left on the physical side of things only. They've been here the whole time, just not physically. Yeah, I know. I got a buddy. He's from South Texas. His parents are from Mexico originally, and his mama rules that house with an iron fist. I mean, she really does. She's an awesome woman. I love her to death. But when she asks you to do something, there is no give me a second. There isn't. And she has this sound she makes. I can't duplicate it, couldn't try to duplicate it. But it's almost like a lip click or something. But first time I met her, I didn't even have to know what that sound was. It's just like someone said, give me a second. I heard that sound, and it's like this very atomic level of survival instinct knew what that sound was. And it's like, that's okay, I'll get it right now. And I got up and did that particular chore for him. I love her to death. She's a wonderful woman. Absolutely love her. I'm actually hoping to get to see her this year. Hey, Russ, good to see you. Good to see you. We got a lot of people popping in here tonight. Awesome. And we've got some great questions, too. Loving it. Yeah, Mr. Tweets. I mean, it's seriously, it's like a survival instincts. And anyone who lives in the South, the Southern mamas have that, too. They also have that look that just like a piece of you dies. But it's okay because the look can kill that little piece of you, but a Southern mama's love can also resurrect it, so it kind of balances it out. But yeah, my buddy was because he's like, how'd you know what that sound meant? I was like, I guess it's just ingrained in human genetics. We just knew. I don't know. So, here's to all the good mamas out there keeping all those crazy kids straight, right? Okay, they're flying again, so I apologize about the jets because, again, it is hot in here. I have the window open. I really can't do nothing about the noise. So I do apologize for any jets that decide to fly by and say hi. I have not worked with Apo much. I'm wanting to. In fact, I've actually gotten a path working that deals with Tiamat and all her children. And I don't even know if Pei was one there for children, but I'm really wanting to get through that path working when I get the time. I got to get through my Clifothic path working first, though. That's already, as we know, that's been on hold and fall's coming, so I got to get ready for that. Get psyched back up to dive into that. That should be fun. I'll be sharing those adventures with you all when we do dive back in. Now, Steve, if I lived at Area 51, I couldn't be telling you that now, could I? I wouldn't be able to tell you that. I had to make up some cover story like I live, you know, in a Navy town somewhere and there's just a little airstrip up here. That's something like what I'd have to say. Or we'll just, yeah, let's go with that. I just live, in a nice little coastal Navy town. And we got a jet training strip right up the road here. Hell, welcome. Oh, I love the name. That is one of my favorite goddesses to work with. Really. Absolutely. Ooh, that's a good question, Hell. That's a real good question. And I have not actually been able to find one. And I've been getting a lot of requests from past students, present students, and people who watch the channel on this topic. Um, because possession rites, there used to be a huge taboo on them. They're becoming more and more accepted as like advanced extreme dedications through invocation and a great way to receive gnosis. And I mean, I use them myself, so I'd be a hypocrite if I said don't do them. And well, we all know I don't like hypocrites. But the only thing I know to do at this point is I'm going to actually have to sit down and try and find a way to either do it in a YouTube video, a class, or in a book format, which I am planning to do a evocation invocation course. So I might stick it in that. But it's such a popular topic. I really want to find a way to get a beginner's guide to it on YouTube somehow, some way. And there's actually a notebook laying here on the floor beside me where I've been sketching and trying to frame it. So it's really interesting you asked this. Because I have been, while things were up, downloading, buffering, and reinstalling because I've had all these computer problems, I've been sketching down, trying to figure out how I would frame it so it would be useful and make sense at the same time. And it may even have to be a series of videos I do instead of just one video. But it is a topic I'm really wanting to get into more because I do think for people who, once you found that deity that you're really close to, prayer, meditation, evocation, and even invocation can only go so far. Eventually, you got to take that full dedicated plunge. Some people never get to that point. Some people do. But I think it's an important aspect of magic to talk about. So, yeah, definitely. And if I find a resource, I'm always on the search. I spend a lot of money on books trying to find good resources. If I find one, I will definitely let you know. Oh, Steve, the other part of your question, what do I think of events going on in the world right now? Well, I don't do politics on the channel, but I'll say this. Regardless of who you are or where you are, right now, humanity's complacency is being thrown up in our face. We got too comfortable in modern life, just being able to go up the road, grab an instant cheeseburger, an instant coffee, and we got too complacent and nothing could go wrong. And I think more than anything, that's what this is. This is our wake up call. And I just hope we as a people can set aside our own stupidity and differences and wake up and move forward together. Jets. Well, I know they can be noisy. I mean, I actually like them. It's weird because when they're not flying, the first few days when they take days off, I'm like, something's wrong. It's just nothing sounds right. You get so used to them, and then you start missing them. You like that, Lauren? That's my cover story. Gotta have a sense of humor. Okay, wait. Bay. I know that word. That's a that's a boyfriend or girlfriend relationship thing, right? See, I'm not that old. I tip to keep up with some stuff. Uh, but yeah, I mean, you get those entities, they definitely are that close to you. There's no doubts. No doubts. Have I made dragon oil before? Yeah. Um, I mean, I've seen many recipes for it. The one I utilize, I work with the rulers and I get them to pour their dragon's fire into the oil. And you can really use any natural oil to make it. My preferred is olive oil. That's just my preferred. Some people use flaxseed oil, some people use grapeseed oil. Um, I know I pronounce it wrong, but it's like yuba oil. Some people use that. Um, and you can use it with just the dragon's fire being poured into it, or you can add buy some dragon's blood resin and grind that up into a good powder and sprinkle it in there. Let it dissolve a little. It won't dissolve fully, but sprinkle that in there as well, and you will have an extremely potent dragon's oil to use. And that would be your base oil. And if you want to, you can experiment and tweak it and add other things for more specific purposes if you wanted. But it works good. It really does. I usually try to keep some on hand. I think I'm out though. I actually do need to make more. I might actually do a video of me making, now that I think about it, so I need to make it. Look at that, Raz. You just gave me a new video idea. We're going to put that on the list. Or hell, who gave me that idea? Oh, TC. Oh my God, there's a lot of names up in here today. Sorry, everybody. It is great to see y'all in here, though. Oh, cool. No problem. Yeah, tell her I said hi. Hell is one of my favorite goddesses. I've worked with her for years. I I couldn't imagine my life without her now. She's family for sure. Heck, we could throw the word bay in there at this point. Yeah, you would use it to anoint candles for evocation work. You can use it to trace sigils over windowsills for protections, or even on your own skin as long as you're not allergic to it. During rituals, one of the ways to use it is when you're wanting, you can draw the dragon's eye triangle on your forehead. Really helps to supercharge your arcane senses. See, I told you I screwed it up. Told you. See, Lori's got me up. She's got it up in there. She knows which one I'm talking about. Good to have a translator in here for me, Lauren. I appreciate that. Um, Dragons are very connected to the environments in which they inhabit. So when they are on this realm, they are very connected to it. Very much through those primordial elements that most people, even in Magic, don't encounter as often. So the dragon's blood palm tree, when it would bleed that deep, beautiful red sap that it bleeds, um, people who understood the mythos of the dragon, they would view it as if the earth itself was bleeding, and there was a point where the earth itself was viewed as a dragon. And you'll see a lot of mythology, even amongst druids, where they even refer to it as the dragon. And that's really where that association comes from, to the best of my knowledge that I've researched. And the tree's even named after it. It's like a dragon's blood palm, and it has obviously it's like a Draconis something fancy Latin name. Any tips on astral projection, Patricia? Yes, actually, one of the easiest ways to start working with astral projection is to set up an astral sanctum, which I have a video on. That's because that actually gets you used to working within the astral realm and being able to move around and see what you're doing. And it's a lot easier to sit down, meditate, and move over to that state, which that is a form of astral projection. And that gets you used to the sensations. The next step is learning to just get out of your body and start moving around, which I do have a video on easy astral projection where we're talking about you sit down and you just start projecting around your house in a environment that you know of. And it covers how the hardest part of astral projection is usually getting out of your body. And most of the time it's because people are so focused on getting out of their body, their focus is on their body. And you will go where your focus is. So you're fighting against yourself. So in that video, I talk about what you need to do is pick a spot in the room and see yourself there. Just cut your body out of the whole equation and just see yourself there. And what you'll find happens is you actually project to that point, and you can now move around your house. And that allows you to have a real world environment that's always changing, and you can move around it, and you can actually test it and see, after the projection's done, you can actually move around your house and see how accurate you were. And then, of course, you can move to your neighborhood and other things, which I talk about in that video. But those are the two key points anytime I'm working with a student. That's where I start them. But the Astral Sanctum makes it so easy to get that jump on it. Oh, sorry to hear about your headphones, Bernaldus. That sucks, man. Rouse, what video is it I should make? I've been taking so many questions, I'm not sure where I'm at now. Hello, Sophia and David. Good to see you both. I am doing good. It's freaking hot up in this office today, but that's okay. We're surviving. We're managing. Oh, yeah. Duh. Yeah, I'm going to add that to the list right after the stream. So it'll be in the next batch or two of videos I record. Oh, you're sneaking us into work with you, huh? I see how it is. Well, we appreciate it. Hope to make the time fly by a little better. Always good. Well, I have actually been spending a lot more time with the Fae and in the 9 realms of the Norse this week. That's really where I've been researching because, as you know, I've been trying to work with the Fae and get that path working underway. And since I'm wanting to do both light and dark Fae path workings, I need to get both sides on board. And luckily, at the end of this week, I can say we tentatively have a fragile but possible plan in line that might work out. And as it solidifies and gets more solid, I'll be happy because at this point, either side could change their mind. But we have something that resembles a plan and not just arguing, so I'm happy with that. And I've been working in Svartalheim and Niflheim a lot this week, which I won't lie, with the heat, Niflheim has been a fun place to spend my time because I'm hot here, I'm cold there. It kind of balances me out. I kind of enjoy it. I don't know. We might be having internet issues. I do have a fan running to keep me alive, so that might be making some noise. And I do have fewer lights on because, again, it's hot. I'm trying to keep it cooled off in here. So that might be part of the problem. But it could very well be internet issues. A couple weeks ago, they just flat out sent me a message during streams like, you'll be losing internet in 15 minutes or something like that. I was so upset. But hopefully it's good enough that y'all can at least hear me and we can have a conversation, because I don't think anyone comes here to see my pretty face. I mean, if you do, I'm flattered, but it's not something I really consider. I don't think I'm the YouTuber you go to goggle or whatever, look at. I don't think that's me. Cloud, yeah, you really got to get relaxed. Tension is your enemy when it comes to astral projection. If you haven't tried the astral sanctum side of it yet, do that. Get used to the feeling of it, because you really do need to be relaxed. If you're tensed and can't get into that meditative state, you're not going to be able to make the jump. So you could already have self-diagnosed your issue on that one, my man, which is good. That shows some wisdom. Twit, you do not need to make an offering to dragons. I mean, they like them. Everyone likes a gift. So, like if you're talking about your guardian dragon, we have a guided meditation that's actually on the channel. And if you follow along with that guided meditation, you should have your guardian dragon by the end of that meditation. No offerings at hand. But let's say you want to give an offering. You give an offering as you see fit. So think of them like a friend, a best friend type thing. How often would you want to give them a gift or take them to dinner or something like that? If you do something special for your friend, do the same thing for your dragon and work with it on that level. If you're asking a special request of them, you can give them an energetic offering, or you can give them a food offering of some kind. They'll eat anything. They really will. Some dragons do have certain preferences, like Expoonwell. He likes wine and pork rinds. I know that's weird. But just give them what you can. And if you have nothing else, take a crystal, charge it with some energy, and give them a nice energetic offering, and they will absolutely love it and be grateful for it. They're really easy-going entities to work with, which is one of the reasons I enjoy them so much. But yeah, there's no hard and fast rules on it. They don't require them. You just treat them like you would a really good friend. Well, good to hear audio's fine. At least y'all can hear me. That is one thing I've been complimented on, is my voice. So somebody out there likes my voice at least. Gotta get some more coffee here. Hold on. Yeah, you do need that confidence. Doubt is the worst enemy of any practitioner. TC, with astral projection, there are a lot of myths of people talking about trouble getting back in your body. But the second you drop your focus, open your eyes, or think about your body, you just kind of whiplash back into it. And the worst possible damage of even like the longest distance whiplash. So you could be completely on the other side of the planes and snap back. Would be a lightheaded, disconnected feeling, which can be fixed with a quick grounding session or even going to eat some food. Because eating some food is a quick way to really just bring your body and your energy body back together real quick. So it's actually a lot safer than some people try to make it sound. What music well, I can't speak for everyone. We all have our own tastes. I really listen to pretty much everything under the sun. My iPod, you'll find everything from Hank Williams Jr., Johnny Cash, Diffie, Marilyn Manson, Lords of Acid, Five Finger Death Punch, Godsmack, Jimmy Buffett, Martina McBride, Gretchen Wilson, Metallica, Pantera, AC/DC. I mean, oh, Weird Al. We can't forget Weird Al. There's Weird Al and Ray Stevens on there too. So my music runs the gamut of everything. People do use that term a lot, and Patricia, and generally it means it's less of a demon incarnate because they can never tell you which demon, and it's always interesting how that works. But you might definitely have that underworld energy current naturally through you, or even that chaotic energy that surrounds most demons. And you may have somewhere in your line where that demonic energy overlaps. But it's really hard for me to explain because everyone who says who has told me they're a demon incarnate or has been told they're a demon incarnate, if you look at their actual soul, it's not demonic. It's pretty much your standard human spiritual soul, even if it's more powerful or attuned to one energy or another. It is what you would roughly consider human. So I'm still in the air. I'd never write anything out completely because I think anything's possible. But at this point, over these years, and that's been for 20 years at least, it's usually the energy of your soul naturally gravitates to those types of energy. So it's easier for you to work with them. That's the best I've actually been able to lock down in my research, and I've met a lot of people. So without working with you personally, that would be my best guess of what they meant. Because for it to be a demon incarnate, they would actually have to fully incarnate here, and then that would actually put a limitation on them on the other side. So they would almost not be contactable on the other side at that point. So that's where it starts falling apart a bit. But that is an area I do continue to research and try and find more on, so I do understand it better. Because this is getting to be a more common question or event popping up. And I'm interested in it myself. But so far, that is to the best of my knowledge how it works. I hope that's helpful. Hello, Ariel. Good to see you. Glad you made it earlier. It's always good to have you in here having fun. Mozoids, you're welcome. Glad I could help you with your question. That's actually a pretty common question. Let's see. Hey, Stephanie. Good to see you up in here. Cloud, yeah, if you want to put your altar up and take it down, that's perfectly fine. Um, One thing people find it hard to believe, I actually don't have an altar. I have an area where I work, and I recently actually got me a nice little slightly lifted work table that because I sit down when I work, so I guess it sits about yay high. Um, until then, I just had a little square piece of plywood, which you can about the shape of that piece of foam there in the corner there, and it was just flat on the floor. And before that, I actually had y'all seen those trunks people take to college? It's just like square trunk. I would literally have that, and I'd stuff everything in it, and then every time I'd work, I'd pull it back out and set it back up. So yeah, you can completely do that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You got to work with what you have available and what you need to, and customize it to your living conditions and space. Another thing you can do, I know people who do all of their workings from their astral sanctum. So they set an altar and a workspace up in their astral sanctum. They leave it there, and they do all their workings there. But those are people who literally have no place to work at all, or they can't work due to family or roommate issues. But it's completely doable. And that's fine. If the question's unrelated, if you got a question, feel free to ask it. I'll do my best to answer it if I have the answer. Yep, see, Bernaldus beat me to it. Bernaldus is a lot more direct. I'm long-winded in my explanations. Throw me under the bus, Steve. Just go ahead. Just toss me under the bus. No. Okay. When it comes to natal charts and astrologies and zodiacs, there are definitely energy currents that are created by these things. And your natal chart is essentially a snapshot of the exact energy that took place on the moment you were born. So we know energy affects us every day of our lives. So that's naturally going to have some effect on you at that moment. Now, here's where I alter from the standard thought process. Since those energies are constantly in flux and you're constantly changing, they can give you a relative snapshot of who you are, your energy, and what might theoretically happen. But I think people use them too much as an excuse. It's like, I'm a jerk because of this, or I'm sorry, I was in a bad mood. It's because of this. Because they're a rough guideline that you can actually take control of, and you can harness the energy, and you can shape it, and you can be the person you want to be. So if you don't want to be an a-hole, you don't have to be an a-hole, regardless of what your zodiac sign says. And this gets me in trouble with a lot of astrology people because in their mind, astrology is astrology. They take it almost like it's written fate. You can't do anything about it. And I'm not a person who, I don't do fate. I really don't. And I've worked very hard to control the energies in my life. And there, if you watch my Mercury retrograde video, I talk about how I use that energy and shape it and direct it. And that's the reason Mercury retrograde never affects me. I start directing it and I put the energy to use before it just randomly sucker punches me. Now, that's not to say you just let it float around. It's not going to sneak up behind you and hit you. But that's my general viewpoint. And I know it's not a popular one, but that is the approach I generally take on it. Yep, that would actually be a fairly good term too, Patricia. So I'm glad I was able to be of some help. See, this is what I get for letting you all know that the issues with the possible coffee hour, because instead of letting Linda throw me under the bus, y'all's doing it now. So y'all's picking up the slack in case something happens. I see how you are. It's good to have friends like y'all. I know it's never going to get boring. No problem, Cloud. Like I said, you got questions, ask. That's why I do this. I can't be everywhere at once, so I love to be able to talk about my research, let y'all know my successes and my failures. I think it's important to share my failures. Too many people think once you've been doing this so many years, it's just sunshine and roses. After that, you get it all right. That ain't the case. We all still make mistakes, and I think it's important to share that. And it also gives you all a chance to ask me random questions, which I love because you ask stuff I generally don't think about. And for the people who's just new or seeking, that's why I'm here. So ask away. That's what the ramblings and research and ramblings mean. Ramblings, no topic. We're just yammering. We'll get it. And see, Lauren, I would agree with you. The natal chart is very accurate in determining traits that will manifest naturally. The question is there a trait that you would like to get rid of? And you could do it if you wanted. So you can make alterations. So I would agree with you on that. It is very accurate. And that's why I say you can change it. Like you said, you're the master of your own destiny. The only issue I've ever had with astrology is so many people today in the modern world use it as an excuse to be an a-hole. And they think that makes it okay. And that really rubs me the wrong way. And I'm sorry, I don't care if you blame your chart or not. From my point of view, an a-hole's an a-hole, and I'm just going to consider you an a-hole. But for those who look at the chart, they look at it and they think, how can I utilize this knowledge and this information to better myself? Now, that's where it's at right there. You take that knowledge, you take that insight, and you push it to be the best you can be. Yes, it is possible for dragons to help music. They absolutely adore music. So, yeah, it really is. Trying to think, is there one that specifically? Trying to think if I've worked with one. I know I've dealt with one that deals with culture and communications. And I want to say that one is really great at helping with music. But I don't want to say that for sure until I double check. But that said, generally, any of the 4 first rulers can help you with music. If you have a specific style of music, try to figure out what element best describes that style and go see that ruler. They'll be able to help you out because dragons absolutely love music. My guardian dragons, they turn the radio on all the time. It took me forever to get used to it. They just love it. Nomar, welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, Steve. I have heard the 9 levels of existence, and see, here's the thing. When I started working with soul travel, I actually started with the 9 levels of existence, which kind of felt right to me, starting coming from a string theory kind of concept. But the more I travel the planes, it's like nine's not enough. What's going on here? Um, but then at times it's like if you group them in certain ways, that 9 still works. So I'm actually trying to figure out a good map or description for how many levels of or dimensions in existence there are. I'd lie if I said I knew, because I don't. But the 9 dimension paradigm right now seems to be the best roadmap out there. But I wouldn't consider it definitive either, if that makes sense. But yeah, in practically everyone I've worked with, we do live in that 3rd dimension, as they put it. TC, that's not a bad look at a retrograde. It's really not. That's actually one of the better viewpoints of it. I do like to do that sometimes, but more often than not, I really don't track them. That's kind of on me. But since I do that bi-weekly working to direct energy, I just kind of scoop past them that way. That said, though, I have 4 points in a year where I always slow down, step back, I take time out, and I dedicate 3 or 4 days or more to just me and meditation, slowing down, relaxing, maybe doing some shadow work, maybe getting out in the woods where it's just me and a campfire for a week. And I'm telling you, those times, ooh, some of the best medicine a person can get. Slowing down and just chilling out. It is amazing. It really is. Well, generally speaking, spirits can hear your thoughts anytime you're opened up or projecting outward. The best way to stop them is to pull your auric energy in as close to you as you can, and basically put up a very simple shield. So if you look at our basic shielding video, that will tell you how to do it, because they can't move past that shield energetically to read your thoughts. Now we are talking spirits. When you're talking much higher entities, uh, they earn the rights as in those higher entities to be able to read them. So that's a different category. But those entities, they tend not to read your thoughts unless you and them have an active reason to do so, and it's usually leaning toward helping you. But the lower level spirits and or earthly spirits, pull your energy in, throw up a shield. They ain't gonna be able to read you. No, I have not. I did get sent a set of dragon runes via email to look into, and it's on my to-do list. I'm really wanting to, though I tinkered with them a little bit one day. So this is by no means a recommendation, a bashing, anything like that, because let's be honest, one day is not enough to form an opinion. I'm too meticulous for that, I think you all know. But from that one day, I will say that energetically and from the results I got, I was highly intrigued. I really was. And I'm really wanting to dive into them more, because runes, at least Nordic runes, are something I spend a lot of time with. And I do know dragons love their symbols and their alphabets. So you can really use any alphabet or symbol system to work with dragons. So it would make sense that someone would create a set of symbols or an alphabet around dragons, uh, and they would work very well. It's just I haven't had the chance to really dive into them, and I'm not sure it's the same system you're talking about or not. But that's the only one someone sent me other than Conway's, which I'll admit Conway's. I wasn't impressed with Conway's. Hers they could work, but they weren't practical on any level at all. Even the dragons had trouble understanding why she would use some complex shapes like that. But um, considering how well they do work with symbols and alphabets, depending on how much research they did, I would think it would be plausible. And the set I was sent, like I said, the first day I tinkered with them, I got good results, and I'm looking forward to doing more research on them. Let's see, where am I at? Merlio, hey, good to see you. Don't think I said hi to you yet. Oh man, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I always do love to hear the channels helping. It is a lot of work, but I enjoy doing it and getting the information out to people and being of what help I can. So thank you very much. And I'll do that. I'll keep up the work and keep the videos and information coming. Thank you. Oh, that's a good question. See, look at that. You're getting into the deep stuff. Astral travel only works with the astral plane and any of the planes that overlap it. And there are planes that do not overlap the astral plane at all. And for those, you have to move into soul travel to get to. Now, seed work or sedir work or setter work, I mean, it's pronounced so many different ways. I'm going to go with seed. That's the one I'm used to. Um, it's a form of soul travel. So more than just your astral body is leaving. It's more your physical essence itself, like soul travel. And where it differs is that you're not just traveling the planes themselves, but you're actually diving into the very fabric of reality within the area you're working. And I know it doesn't make for some people this is hard to grasp, and this is why seed working is such a complex and fascinating area of magic. Because we think of the planes as being outside reality, we're already looking at that fabric of reality as we travel the planes. But we'll try and keep this simple. Let's say you went to the primal elemental plane of fire. So that means you've left here, you went to the elemental plane of fire, and now you've gone further into that primal elemental plane. For all, you could spend a lifetime exploring that plane. That's true. But with seed work, you can actually go into the very fabric of reality of the plane and actually look at that and make alterations to it. And this is where the seed workers' magic really comes from. They're actually altering that fabric and that weave of reality at its very core. They learn to pluck just the right string. But that's really where the difference is. And I hope that makes sense because that's really summing it up small. But I am actually, when I do the Norse class, I'm still debating whether I just do the full class, all Norse magic, or split it into a runic and a seed working class. But I will be going into seed working on that. And I am hoping to get at least a few YouTube videos on it as well. Thanks, Hellcat. Seed working is always a tricky one to explain. So, but I mean, I work with Freya a lot, and seed magic is something. I mean, it fascinates me. It really does, and it's an intense practice because the smallest alteration can create the biggest change, and sometimes those alterations are a little hard to make. But with time and practice, it's a tremendous practice and a lot of awesome effects. Hey, Mooncat, good to see you too. Great questions up in here tonight. Yeah, Lauren, I actually do have a video. It's just a quick intro to runes that I'm going to be doing. Or did I already do that video? Oh, crap. Hmm. Oh, well. If I haven't done it, I plan on doing it. And I am, like I said, I'm doing an actual full class on Norse magics. I just don't know if I'm going to split them. But the runic one, I already got the rune set already outlined, and that could actually be its own class. It's so massive. We're going deep into the runes. We're going into rune magic, rune divinations, rune meditations, Udisetva style works. So we're really going to go deep into the runes with that particular working. No matter, not that I'm overly aware of. I mean, I've dealt with most of my past life stuff. I'm not a person who tends to hang on to the past too much. I try to take my lesson and go. I try to look forward. So because of that, I would generally say no, unless you count ancestral spirits. A few of those have popped up from time to time. Um, a couple of the dragons have mentioned that they've worked with me a lifetime or two ago, but I don't really view them as spirits. They're a slightly different category. Most people probably would. Um, well, Azazel. Azazel's actually an entity that has followed me more than one lifetime by his admission. Though I think only one other lifetime did I work with him. Every other time he was more just of an observer, so I don't know if that really counts. And but that would be the short of it. Bernaldus, Lauren, no, who asked the question? Patricia spelled it right. It's Seidr. And you will find a lot of different pronunciations for it. Oh, Patricia, you're in for a wild ride, believe me. That is one of the least published magical formats that there's just not a lot of information on it. And working directly with Freya is really the best way to go in my mind. And it is a wild ride. You'll have a lot of fun with it. Awesome to hear, young lion. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad to hear you're enjoying the class. Always good to hear. Next time you pop in on Terrafana, tell her I said hi. So, and as y'all know, my goal is to keep to when I set a class up, my goal is to be able to set it up to get the information to you as affordably as possible. So if it's cheaper to do two classes, I'll do that. If it's cheaper to do the one class, I'll do that. Because I'm more about just covering my cost and getting the information to you than anything. And then whenever possible, I just stick it on YouTube for free. But the classes help because it lets me freely talk about topics that YouTube's like, no, 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 you can't talk about that. Okay, that's probably what I'm thinking of there, Ariel. So, okay, cool. I can do a nice little intro video to runes and working with them. Cool. All right. And you guys got a lot of good questions for me tonight. Let's see. All right, hell, let's see what we got here. Have I encountered organization or families that would want others to S? I don't know what S is. You might need to fill out the S part. Oh, that you would want others to stay away from. Oh, well, most of y'all know I don't really work with groups much at all, but use your common sense when you're looking for a group or considering joining a group. Now, if they're wanting to gatekeep and you have to take all these secret initiations and oaths that may bind you to an energetic group or something, and you don't know them, you don't trust them, my general rule of thumb is don't do it. Um, Never give up your freedom or your autonomy to think for yourself and do for yourself for a group. Period. That's my go-to right there. Um, and that's really one of the things. Most of the groups that are out there today, sadly, I got a lot of people who work in investigations and stuff like that. And those friends, some of the worst things they've seen come from occult groups. Their rituals are set up to prey on people, and it's really sad. If y'all remember, I actually did that internet safety for the occult worker live stream that we specifically titled it differently than just research and ramblings because this is getting to be a real problem. So I really don't think it would be viewed as paranoia to just say, consider whoever's asking you to join, be skeptical and wary of them at all times. Really make sure you know them before you join them and make sure you know what you're getting into. If it's one of these groups that we can't tell you anything until you sign on the dotted line, just walk away. Just walk away. Um, there's no group out there that can hand you a power, a shortcut, or anything that you can't get on your own through just working with those arcane pillars, as the dragons call them. The divinations, the evocation and invocation, and the journey work. And then you add to that, your other studies of stuff like candle magic, sigil magic, servitors, and those kinds of things. Um, Through divinations, evocation, and journey work, you can really learn anything you need to learn that a group could offer without contracts or giving up your freedom or autonomy. So for the groups out there that I just pissed off, deal with it. Sorry. But if you're a good, legitimate, honorable group, you shouldn't have trouble getting information know how or getting members. So there you go. Uh Namar, for if you're wanting to do a long term, I would actually set up a sigil that works as a protection and also charges itself anytime you do a working in the room. That way you're constantly feeding it energy and it stays up. Or you could do a sigil or something that you can place. I mean, you can even place it under your mattress as long as it's in the room and having it kind of project out. Or in a book, you can tuck it away and hide it if you need to. Or one that you refresh at least once a month. And whether you're refreshing it or whether you're allowing it to siphon off some of that ritual energy, just program it when you create it. Hands down, one of the easiest ways to do warding of room. You can also look into creating a servitor to guard the room. Sophia, have I ever worked with demons? And if yes, actually, for the longest time, I avoided them, but I have worked with demons. I've worked with the Goetic spirits. I've worked with Azazel and others. And honestly, they can be rough around the edges. I'm not going to lie. And they can be, I won't say mean, but they're very willing to help and they are chaotic, but their willingness to help can sometimes get the magician in trouble because They're so willing to help you be the best you that you can be that they're going to make drastic changes really quick in your life. So you need to be ready for those changes when you ask for help. So, good example that most people probably encounter. A lot of people will go to a demon seeking a better job or more money, and the demon will help. But tends to be like, let's say you just ask for more money, you need more monthly income. Well, they're going to take the path of least resistance to get you there, and they're going to get you there as quick as possible. So, step one might be you losing your job, and you're going to freak out. I know I would. So, yeah, the changes will come drastically, and they may not be what you expect. So, you got to be a little careful there. I've never had a negative experience with them. They've always worked to get me where I was going, with the exception of the cliff off. I've shared this before. In my first divings into the cliff off, I opened up 7 spheres at once within a week, not thinking. It was my curiosity, just trying to dive in, learn everything I could to see if this was an area I wanted to study more. And I never closed any of them, so that energy was just bombarding me, trying to make changes and improve me as that sphere normally would, though you would normally be acting with it. And because of that, it was totally my fault that created a very chaotic year to year and a half. I mean, it was hell on wheels. But at the end of it, I came out better than I could have ever imagined, even though I done it in a foolish way. So you do have to be careful. You do have to be careful there. But yeah, other than that, I've never really had a major one on any negatives. And I actually enjoy it because they are so willing to help. That's one reason I don't enjoy working with angels. They're such sticklers for rules and so unbendable and inflexible that, ugh, I ain't got the patience for it. Except Michael. I get along well with Archangel Michael. Take it easy, Hellcat. Kitchen witchery. Go make some food. No, actually, young lion, I'll be honest with you. To the best of my knowledge, there's nothing a demon can grant you that a dragon could not. And I could say the same thing of angels. So it's the entity that you prefer to work with and the ones that you get along with your personality. I mean, I have nothing personal against angels. It's just our personalities. They're a bit more easygoing, slow moving, and very rigid in how they work. And I need more flexibility. That's the reason we don't. I got nothing personal against them. I respect them. And when I do get a chance to talk to them, I enjoy talking to them. Uh, so, no, I mean, you could work with dragons and get everything that the demons can give you as far that I've encountered at this point, which I've dove pretty deep on both sides. But so, no, I would say no. Now, that said, I will add this because you're going to ask if that's the case, why do I work with two? Well, I like to get information from more than one point of view. I find that very useful, and I find multiple views gives you a greater picture of the whole and gives you better wisdom on the matter. That's my personal reason for working with both. Um, but there's no reason at all that you could just work with dragons and just ride that lane all the way. No reason at all. If you wanted to, do it. You'll make great progress with it, no doubt. I did it for many, many years, just straight dragons. Patricia, that's actually interesting because we know Odin took up the runes. We know he mastered the runes, and it's actually there's a point where it's insinuated in one of the myths. I can't remember which one that Odin taught Freya the runes, and she taught Odin seed magic. and they both mastered both forms of magic. So you can actually work with the runes through Freya, definitely. But what's never actually stated, I don't think, is the creation of the runes. Um, that's kind of a big debated thing. Some people say it is stated in the myths, and every time I read it, I keep forgetting to highlight it and see if it pops up. I need to go back, but yeah, I see where you're coming from because she does have such mastery of them, and where she dives into the very weave of reality itself, it does make one wonder because it never specifically says, to the best of my knowledge, who created them. There's some people who even believe the runes themselves are the gods of the Norse gods. And they're basically the sigils or energies that tie to those entities, which is something I've wanted to dive into and research more when I get time, which I'm hoping to do next year. Actually, I'm wanting to dedicate an entire path working to that. But no, I see where you're getting it. I see exactly why you feel that way and where it's coming from. And I would actually say, if you wanted to pursue it, work with Freya, talk to her, get her insights on it, and talk to Odin, see how it measures up. And I'd also encourage you to go and read the poetic or the prose eddas and the Havamal, and find out what the lore in there says as well. I mean, if you have time to do it, because I know I would love to do it and I want to do it. I just got to find the time. Uh, Other than the months thing, hell, they sound the same because an astral sanctum is literally you creating your own personal dimension. You are the god of that dimension. But as far as the months, I mean, I guess it depends on how creative you are. But I mean, you want a door appears. It's instantaneous. It's there. So you can constantly be working on it and shaping it and rebuilding it and changing what you want as you want when you want, or you can just build something and leave it. I'm actually pretty simple with my astral sanctum. I build it, I leave it. I'm not complicated. There's been a time or two the dragons have made changes, and I got there and it's like, hey, what's wrong here? And they explained why they made the changes. It made sense, so it's like, all right, we'll keep it. But so it is an ongoing life process, just like any home that you own. You're going to change it as you go, but the creation of something does not take long at all. Not really sure why it would, but other than that, they sound the same because it is your own private dimension. It's yours, and there's very few entities that can kick in the door on you. But there are entities that can, because there's entities out there that no matter how locked down and secure a realm may appear, they can trespass. But for the most part, it's a secure area. And you definitely have the home field advantage, but don't mistake advantage for perfect safety. Oh, no problem. I'm happy to help. It's actually a good question. I'm actually surprised it don't come up more. Animal Man, whew, I actually ran into a guy when I was working for a freight facility years and years ago. So it was on airport property, and he's the one that told me to look into it. And I talked to this guy for 15 minutes or so, went back to where I worked, and I was talking to a guy I worked with who his wife works on the same mod or area where this guy said he worked, but didn't know him. So we ended up going down there. Guy wasn't there. No one seen him. No one heard of him. This triggered a panic because, again, airport property, secure, all that stuff. So security got involved. Now I'm feeling like an idiot. So we end up in the security room and they're pulling tapes. Well, on the tape, you see me standing there talking to nothing, but there's other people walking by. They're constantly avoiding whatever I'm talking to, and a few of them even wave at it and say hi, but it's not on the cameras. So the guy was never on camera, but everyone in and out of the break room saw him, and they interviewed these people. They could describe him verbatim the way I did. Now, I'm a dense person. I'm a very dense person. I'm hard at taking a hint. I took that hint, and I looked into dragon magic as best I could, which at the time all there was Conway's works. So that's where I got my start. That's why I got my start. And Conway's works never really jived with me. So it didn't take long for me to go from once I made contact with the dragons and started working with my co-magician and my guardian and the rulers, that I fell back to more of a shamanic viewpoint. It's like, let's learn directly from them and just set the book aside. And that's what I did. And then they laid out this nice little path working for me to share for more people to do the same. Prose Edis, not poetic. The poetic Edis and the prose Edis is slightly different. And the prose Edis is viewed as more accurate. The poetic Edis was written with a Christian slant. Well, I should say more of a Christian slant. There's some people who think there's some influence still on the prose Edis, but those are two different books. And I always tell people to start with the prose Edis and the Havamal, and then if you can, then get the poetic Edis. Oh, I disagree with you on that because I can create anything in my sanctum and it not take a long time, and I have total control over it. Absolute. So, I mean, time's never been an issue for control on that. And I might differ for some people, but that's been my experience, and at least the experience of the students that I know we've discussed the control concept, which ain't everybody, but there's still entities that can move that energy. Trust me. Yeah, see, Bernaldus, when I started, books were not a common thing anywhere, especially where I grew up. Or I should say, books on the metaphysics. We read, we had books, we had education. But yeah, I mean, I always had a kinship and a draw to dragons. And I won't lie, I avoided them even with that when I got into magic because it just seemed too cliche to me. So yeah, I was a bit thrown off by the fact that there was a system out there, and it was really nice to see it. They're flying by a few times here and there. Yeah, luckily they don't seem to be staying in the area long, but they do keep flying by. Lying. Um, okay, I've not said this because it's not concrete, but the current plan is once the pathworking is filmed and done and it's up on the school, we will be taking that outline and doing a set of books based on it that can be worked with by themselves to some extent, but would be better paired with the classes. Because I'm really not good at writing books, but I think if I took the pathworking, I got that outline finished and fleshed out, that I can do a series of books on Dragon Magic, what we're talking. My big thing is I don't like fluff with a book. So when I write a book, understand that if I do this, it's going to be pretty bare bones, applicable tools and process. Unless I put in stories of my personal experience, there's going to be no fluff. And most people say that don't make for a good book, but it's just the way my brain works. I can't really do fluff. But books are on the table for the future. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, no, I've actually started getting most of my books whenever possible in electronic format, just because we do move so much and it's so easy for things to get lost in the move. And let's be honest, they take up a lot of room. Our first move, we had over 30 boxes of books, each book weighing or box weighing over 50 pounds. So we had to scale down a lot, which the bulk of my research is right here on this shelf back here behind me, or my research library. What's in the rest of the house is usually fiction books or occult books that I'd never reference enough to put on this shelf. And even this ain't full research. There's other ones that are just tucked in there for fun. But I am grateful for Conway's work because that was really all there was at the time. And I think it served its purpose. I don't want to say I'll be the next Conway, but I do think it's time for another viewpoint, if that makes sense. And I hope my viewpoint is useful to others. So, and I hope people take my viewpoint and build on that and go to the next level. That's really what I'd like to see. I don't want it to stop here. I want it to go further. I want it to go to that next level. All right. Well, it seems like you guys like my book. Because I by now you've got to know I'm too logical and analytical to do entertainment writing. Because I can't write an entertaining story. I can't. I'm no good at it. So, but I can write an instruction manual. So that's probably what my books will end up being. Hopefully, I'll be able to at least have a few of my amusing anecdotes that make me who I am, so my personality will be in there. But that's, yeah. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of requests for books, and I understand some people like books over video courses. So once I get done with the filming and I have a bit more time to work on it, because the filming eats up so much time, the book project is a go. And if nothing else, we are actually releasing a Grimoire of Dragons. Sophia, that's a tough one because sometimes you get different opinions from the dragon you talk to. So there's different views of why dragons won't do it. Some of the dragons really still don't trust us. They really do not. And that's why dragon magic can be difficult, because some of the dragons you meet, they really don't like humans. Um, we have killed some of them in the past, some of the younger ones. And that's one of the reasons that they say they left. So, and if you look at our myth and legends, we've wrote it down ourselves. We give them plenty of reason not to trust us. Um, Some of them just think humans can't, now where we're at in modern life, we couldn't handle it. We couldn't handle that knowledge if they did manifest. Some, they're just not as interested in this world. They're a bit more passive. But you do have the fourth category. And the fourth category is where a lot of stories are coming from, because there are some dragons that have manifested physically. Fire dragons actually get the biggest billet here because they manifest in areas where humans need help and there's a lot of fire. So I get a lot of emails from firefighters who can literally describe to me a dragon manifesting and pushing a falling beam out of the way so it doesn't hit them or block a doorway so they can get out. Or even cases where a dragon grabs them and throws them through the door so they're out of the room when it collapses. So there are cases where it's happened, but it's in an extreme environment that, well, generally people wouldn't be there. Obviously, a fireman wouldn't be in there without his protective gear. Now, many of the water dragons I've talked to, they talk about water dragons manifesting all the time. But since they are able to stay deep or out into open waters, humans don't encounter them often. But we look at stuff like the stories of Loch Ness. We look at stories from people, military and submarines, people on aircraft carriers. They see things that fit the description of a dragon, but we can't place it with anything else. It just don't make no sense. And when you consider what we know about water dragons and them liking to manifest along these rip tides and these different international currents that flow, it makes total sense what these sailors and fishermen are seeing. Now, I'm not saying Loch Ness Monster is a dragon. I just use that as an example because there's a lot of people who have seen something, whether it's a log or not, and we have radared and scanned that entire lake, and there's nothing that would fit the physical monster as we know it. So a dragon would make sense if there's something in that lake. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, Conway, yeah. I'm thankful for her work, but I can't say I agree with it. Um, and I really didn't like her meditation style because she literally just grabbed you by the nose and ran you through it. She told you verbatim what you would see. There was no experience. It's just, this is what you see. And you should never do a guided meditation that way. You should give them a framework and let the details fill themselves in. So that really bothered me. But yeah, I get a lot of reports. People just don't like the way she's done them, or they're too fluffy, or but it tends to be that's you right now. That seems to be the gateway that sends people looking for other stuff, which actually tends to be how they're finding me right now. So I guess I should be grateful for that too. Up, see, Bernardo said the same thing. Then my videos popped up. Animal Man, yes, dragons do breathe fire, though it's not fire as we know it. It is a raw, energetic flame that they can shape and use as they want. So they can use it for attack, defense, and even healing. They can literally shape it and use it as any form of magic spell they want. And yes, it's depending on the type of the dragon, certain methods of using that fire will be more effective. But by and large, they can use it any way they want. But it's not a fire as we know it. It's that raw arcane energy. And the only shaping of it, because it will have some shape, it won't be completely raw. It'll be attuned to their element to some level. And then they shape it as they breathe it out. That's why in the Dragon's Flame ritual, when we talk about them breathing their flame, they're breathing that flame as that raw energy that has that draconic attunement and the elemental attunement into your ritual area. It literally is their fire. Let's see, except for Zers or copper bronze. I've met some gold, copper, and bronze dragons, but they're still elemental in some way. In fact, the ones that specifically identify as metallic, they would actually fall under the earth element, but it has nothing to do with their power. Uh, from everything I've learned about dragons and their culture over the last 20 so years, age is really where the power comes in. So, like the current sitting nine rulers are the nine most powerful elemental dragons out there because of their age at this point. Um, that would be the general baseline of it. So it's age category, not color. But there are gold, copper, and you know, continue on down the line. But color really doesn't have as much to do with it because you'll find black fire dragons. Dragons can shift their color at will if they want to. So yeah, you can't really go by color. And age is hard since they can alter their size to some extent. But yeah, you can't really go by color on power wise, if I'm reading your question right. But as far as Slavic mythology, I've read it years ago. I'm rusty as hell. I won't lie on that one. It was when I was studying shamanism in different ways and different techniques used across different cultures. Um, I know there was some minor, and I do mean minor overlap that I remember from Norse, but ultimately I did gravitate more toward Norse Vitki shamanism. So it's an area I'm rusty in, and if I got a crowbar out and actually worked at my brain, I might be able to budge that hinge and get it to free flow again. But yeah, it's an area I'm rusty in. Great questions tonight. Okay, we'll start wrapping up a bit here. So if you got any final questions, let me know. We'll take care of those. Like I said, uh, we are still working on the Dragon Magic 102 class. Due to some filming issues, I don't know if I mentioned this or not at the beginning, but I might be pushing its release back to October instead of September. So be aware that could be a thing that could be happening. As I said earlier, we did get the canvas for the Spirit Dragon up on the site. It's ready to go if you're collecting them or just want this one. So what is that? That's 7 of the 9 we've already got completed. Man, project's almost done. Then we can get into other projects. I got a friend coming over tomorrow to actually help. She's going to test the Dragon Magic Circle that we now have available, the Magic Circle that's on our shop. She's going to put it through her paces as a non-Dragon Magic practitioner and give me a review of that. So I should be able to let you all know how that goes next Friday because I was wanting to know how it would function for a non-Dragon Magic practitioner. Peachy, I know Halloween and you's going to want to smack me, but I do not have one. This week has been so stressful, and I spent so much time yelling at my computer that I think of one. Well, Lord, I'm glad I can be of service. I'm glad the smooth, docile tones of my Southern can help you do your homework. Of course, Magical Coffee Hour. So here's my plan for all you that look forward to Magical Coffee Hour. The plan is that we will be having Magical Coffee Hour. That's the plan. Now, should something happen, we can't get it to work, stay on the site because I will pop up a stream just like this one and we will do something. We won't skip it. So if me and Linda can't do Magical Coffee Hour, I will still do some kind of stream. We might be a few minutes late getting it started, but that is the plan. But hopefully we'll figure it out before 8 p.m. on Sunday and everything will go off without a hitch. Ariel, thank you. Yeah, the artist who's been working with this, she's been great because we are evoking the draconic rulers, and if the ruler doesn't approve it, it doesn't move to the next project, and you can find them all on the workingdragonmystic.com shop. And Sarah has been tremendous and doing an awesome job on them. Bernaldus, for Magical Basics. Well, I do have a playlist that focuses on Magical Basics, obviously, so I definitely check that out. Book-wise, I know I'm not big on religion or anything, but my favorite series for the beginner, because it really does cover all the basic nuts and bolts and builds an excellent foundation, is the Temple of Witchcraft series by Christopher Pencak. And most, if not all, my videos have the 4 books linked in there, so you can find Amazon links straight to them. There's Inner Temple, Outer Temple, Shamanic Temple, and High Temple. And each one builds on the foundation and gives you a massive amount of information. And they are written from a more pagan, witchcraft, Wicca kind of viewpoint. But he gives you the information and the whys on it, so you can just set aside the religion and just read the process if you're not interested in the religion. So it works for both styles of practitioners really well. And he does focus on those individual parts in each book. So Inner Temple focuses on meditation, inside work, working with yourself, chakra, auras, shielding, all those little things. Outer Temple, you move into magical processes that are external from you. Shamanic Temple, clearly we're focusing on shamanic style workings. It even goes into some starter shadow work. And then High Temple actually is a wonderful, easy to understand introduction to high magic style workings. So those 4 books really would replace almost 30 of the books I tried to start learning with. And that's why I recommend them, because in 4 books, you can replace most of the other stuff. And he does a wonderful job explaining it. He's pretty down to earth with how he explains it. So those would be my go-tos. I know it sounds like I have a man crush on him, but I literally speaking, I love the way he presented the information. Yeah. Oh, the magical challenge from last week. We did do a food one. I think Linda's the one that actually initiated that one during Magical Coffee Hour last week. So I was actually going to wait for that particular one to wind up with her. But if you all want to share your results here, I'm willing to hear because, well, I love food. Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, Pencak does some really good writings. There's actually more of his books I want to get because I did enjoy his series so well. I want to see what his other works are like. He seems to have a good head on his shoulders as a practitioner. I did do a few of the Rat's Hell. A few of them. Oh, looks like we got a lot of Pencak fans in here. Good. I'm not the only one fanboying over here. Good. All right. Cool. But yeah, you'll notice I don't recommend a lot of books in the list descriptions under my videos. So unless it's a book I've worked with, I read, and I really believe it can help a practitioner, I don't list it. And all four of his books are down there because they're just solid. And I actually do recommend them when I work with a student one-on-one. Even though they have me as a resource, I still recommend they get those books. Well, that's why we're there. Beginner questions are good. You gotta ask them to get. You gotta ask the question when you got it. That's how we learn. Take it easy, Sophia. You have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining us. It is a little weird when you know the face but not the name of an author, because usually it's the name that you know, because people don't seem to put the pictures on all the books, though it's getting more common. But yeah, it took me forever to figure out how his name was pronounced. But yeah, I did his pictures in a lot of his books, so I do know what he looks like. But it is odd to know the face without the name of most authors, because usually it's the face that's hidden. It's like we know the author's name, but ooh, what do they look like? So yeah. All right, everybody. With that, I'm going to hop off here. I'm going to have me some coffee, and I'm actually probably going to pop in and wander around Svartalfheim a bit more tonight before I head to bed. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I hope I get to see you Sunday, and I hope it'll be with Linda joining me. So if any of y'all happen to have make the computer magically work spells, I'd appreciate them. I'd welcome them, because I need all the help I can get. And with that, y'all have a wonderful evening. I will see you Sunday. Take it easy.